Hey guys, what's up? So today I am going to do a follow-up to the top 5 best movies of 2019, which are the top 3 disappointing movies of 2019. These are sadly the movies that I had high expectations for, but sadly they just didn't live up to the hype. Now these movies are not necessarily terrible in any way, but they're just really disappointing and very, very wasted. So, if you like any of these movies and you think that they're perfect the way they are, that is totally fine. So, let's get into the top 3 most disappointing movies of 2019. Number 3, Captain Marvel. You all saw this coming. So, if you've watched the top 3 worst Marvel movies, you know that it's at number 3. Now, I'm not going to rant on it, but the reason why Captain Marvel failed to live up to the hype, and by the way, this is highest on the list because I actually wasn't that excited for Captain Marvel, but I did have some hype for the film. Captain Marvel herself, aka Carol Danvers, is just a very boring protagonist. The whole story kind of feels like it's being taken up by beautiful visuals like you'd see in a Star Wars movie. That's the problem. It doesn't feel like a Marvel movie or a good addition to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It feels like it's supposed to be in the Star Wars universe. While visually stunning, the story is weak, and it only exists to kind of patch up the line between Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame. It doesn't try to be its own standalone movie. It doesn't try to be interesting or engaging or fun like the other Marvel movies. It tries to do its job, and it does it well, I guess. But people will not have fun with this film. They will not feel attached to Carol Danvers. They won't really get that that magic that comes with the Marvel movies, like Avengers Endgame or Spider-Man Far From Home or Ant-Man and the Wasp or the original Iron Man. It's nothing compared to those movies. And I'll say this, I'm going to get a lot of backlash from Inside Out Fan 2001, but Iron Man 2 is way better than Captain Marvel. I'm serious. While Captain Marvel certainly delivered on the visuals, the overall structure of the story, just like with Tron Legacy, if the story is weak, the building/movie crumbles down and falls apart. Captain Marvel definitely fell apart. So, enough with Captain Marvel. It's ironic how 2 of my favorite movies of this year are Marvel movies, and there's one bad Marvel movie this year. So, let's go ahead and get into the second most disappointing movie of 2019. My second most disappointing movie of 2019 is Aladdin. Now, I wouldn't say that Aladdin 2019 was the worst Disney live-action movie. I still think that the Beauty and the Beast remake is the worst. But as much as I was a fan of the original Aladdin, I consider that to be like one of my favorite all-time Disney movies of all time. This movie was not exactly a shot-for-shot remake of the original. They do have some original stuff in there, like they do add some subplots and new songs. Like they have the subplot where Genie falls in love with the servant girl. So I thought that was kind of interesting. But overall, it's a huge downgrade from the original. The new actor they got to play Aladdin was okay. But aside from a few changes, this movie is a shot-for-shot remake of the original. At least The Jungle Book really did something new. They took a mediocre story and kind of spiced it up and gave it a better conclusion than the original. Instead of Mowgli having to go to the Sucky Man village, and fearing the tiger that would bite him in the sequel, they got rid of Shere Khan and said, Mowgli, you can stay in the jungle. That was a great ending. This movie, it doesn't really feel like a movie. It feels more like a Broadway play, like Aladdin the Musical, with costumes, set pieces, and CGI. It's not the worst, but it's a forgettable movie. It's nothing special. It's not going to enrich your mind. It's not going to leave you wanting more. It's not a timeless classic like the original. This is one of those movies where you just watch it once, think it's meh, and then you just throw it away out of your memory. It was very disappointing. There is one positive though. Will Smith absolutely killed it as the genie. I had doubts about him being genie at first, but man, he was funny, especially in that one scene where he thinks that Aladdin actually made the wish to get out of the Cave of Wonders, but actually Abu rubbed the lamp, and then Genie was all like, after he replayed that same scene, he's all like, I'm keeping my eye on you, little monkey. That was hilarious, and that was the best part of the entire movie. But everything else, pile of mediocrity. I wouldn't say it's absolutely terrible like Inside Out Fan 2001 said, but it's forgettable. It's very bland. So, if you're curious about it, watch it, but you probably won't get anything out of it. And there is no doubt the number one most disappointing movie of 2019 is The Lego Movie 2. The Lego Movie 2 was one of my most anticipated movies of this year. I absolutely love the first Lego movie. It was one of the most revolutionary animated movies of the 2010 decade. It took something as simple as Lego and made a fun, interesting animated movie out of it. And not only was it considered a success, but considered one of the best animated films of 2014. That's freaking incredible. So, when they announced a sequel, people, especially Lego Movie fans, were hyped. They wanted to see what would happen after the cliffhanger of the first movie. And I'll admit, it starts off pretty promising. But as soon as we get to the apocalypse, that kind of... I don't know, it's just... After those first few minutes, it kind of gets a little dreary and not very interesting. There are some things that they copy from the first film, which is it's kind of uninspired writing. Now, I wouldn't say the Lego Movie 2 is terrible. I wouldn't even call it the worst Lego movie or the worst Warner Animation Group movie. I haven't seen the Lego Ninjago movie. I haven't seen all of Smallfoot. Only seen Storks, Lego movie, Lego Batman movie, and that's about it. And including this. The Lego Movie 2, it's not really that it's a bad film. It's a sequel to, like, the Shrek of the 2010 decade. Like, Shrek had such an impact on the medium of animation, heck, cinema in general. But when the third film came out, it was okay. Nowhere near the standards of the first two films. Exactly the problem with the sequel. The Lego Movie 1 broke so much ground, was so good, so new, so refreshing. It had fun with itself. It poked fun at the Lego, what it could do with Lego. But they don't do anything original or fun with the sequel. It's okay. It's not groundbreaking like the first one. Heck, some of it doesn't make any sense. There are some interesting concepts like Armageddon, which is thrown into the mix, which is basically the replacement for what they did with Will Ferrell character in the first movie, where he forbid his son to play around with his Lego set. So I thought that this new dynamic, instead of it being Will Ferrell and his son, now it's the son and his sister. This could be interesting. This could be a good continuation to the Lego Movie narrative. Well, it does have a good lesson, I'll tell you that. But the rest of the movie is freaking boring. it is nowhere near as exciting or epic as the first movie. So if I were you, I would just stick to the first movie and skip the sequel entirely. It is the most disappointing movie of 2019. The twist, I'll give it this. I wasn't expecting the twist. But everything else, total wasted potential. And I am very disappointed to say that the Lego Movie 2 is a pile of mediocrity. So again, Warner Animation Group, you could still totally do a Lego Movie 3. You don't have to resort to such levels as the Funko movie. I recommend actually just do a Lego Batman sequel. That would be more interesting than a Funko movie. I don't really hate the Lego Movie 2. It's just very mediocre and forgettable. That's the best way to describe it. The animation, I'd say it's a little bit better than the first movie. The first movie, don't get me wrong, has stellar animation. But they upgraded for the sequel, and it's really good. There are also some character arcs that didn't make sense, some reveals. So overall, it's just a wasted opportunity. One thing I did like, they poked fun at all of Chris Pratt's roles, like him in Guardians of the Galaxy, Jurassic World, and himself in the Lego Movie. So, anyway, see you guys later. And let me know what your most disappointing movie this year was. A film you had high hopes for, but sadly, let you down. See you later, guys. May Jesus bless you.